Hey, this is Lorena, and I wanted to do a video on my process of designing my quilt. I also wanted to share if I really like this really works for me, if it's working. In this video, I'm going to share also some tools that I'm using, marking tools. On my live feed, I shared my pens that I found for marking and one of my favorite pencils. So yeah, this is going to kind of be an update, but also sharing with you the process of me designing the quilt on tracing paper and using this little tool that I made. Alright, so I'll see you in the designing. I wanted to share these Sharpies that I found. I really love them. What ended up happening is I was designing on the table, and remember I was sharing with you to find something that marks with different thicknesses, and instead of having 4 or 5 different pens, what I like about this Sharpie, so it's thick, you can kind of do it pointy, but then also thicker if you needed to, and then on this end it has a thin, beautiful thin line. The reason I'm doing the marking with different depths is because this line, the smaller lines, I'm using them as seam lines in a design, and then this thicker line I'm using to show me that this is the design area that I really want to start quilting around. And so it kind of gives me some guidelines, I guess, to this process that I'm doing. And the reason you want to use a permanent marker of some kind with a thicker field area when you want to erase. For example, I want to erase in this area. You're not erasing where you're designing. I want to make sure that my diamond stays where it's at, and that's why I have all this in a thicker Sharpie. And inside here, you can barely see it, but it is there. It's very faint in this area. You can see where I had seam lines Sharpied in, but it was the thinner Sharpie. Here it lets me know that I have that pinwheel area. So to be mindful of how I design, because I have a pinwheel here, and in this area there's a lot of seams, are just as valuable having the thinner lines, because, for example, here I did thinner lines because this is the other area of the quilt, and I wanted to know as I designed this, if the design that I have for that diamond area, if this design went well with this design, if they flowed well, how the pattern insets with itself. And that's why I redid it here while I was playing and working on it all on its own. So in this section of the video, I'm going to share with you what I did with the pattern. I went ahead and I got the pattern that I was designing, and I went and I hung my quilt top, you know, where I have it hanging on my mantle. And then I got the pattern and I literally pinned it to the exact area of where that star was. And what I like about this, I got to see what my quilting would look like. Even though it's not quilting, it's kind of pencil quilting on there. I also wanted to see if it was too busy for the fabric. I literally have the ruler I used, and the distance, let's say I did an inch here, is where I started marking the ruler. And I give myself I write down information and guidelines. But here I erased it because I'm going to not use this. It was too complicated to mark it. It's one thing to have it here on paper. It also helped me decide if I really liked what I was doing. And at the current time when I did do that, I was really happy with it. Well, now that I have looked at it, now it's time to transition what I did here, go get fabric marking tools and start marking this design into the fabric. So I'm sharing with you the two marking tools. If you've been part of my channel, you know that my favorite marking tool, I believe this is a Clover. This just is a disappearing ink, and this is a water soluble. I love this. Apparently, I like pens that have two-in-ones, okay? In a sense, I think you get two pens for the price of one. I also like this marking tool. It's a So Fine marking tool. It's one of my favorite. It's a water-soluble one. I like them a lot. The only thing is I've noticed with this marking tool, and it's real fine, you can mark on it and it takes a little bit for you to see the marks. And I have a tendency that I'm impatient. I want to see it now. I'm starting to use this Pons and Porter's chalk pencil marking tool. I really don't like this tool that much, and I'm going to share why I don't like it. The lead, I don't know, maybe I'm heavy-handed with it. The lead just keeps popping on me. But at this time, I'm trying to make my marking tools as consistent to my pattern, so I'm working with it. On my dark areas where I have darker fabric, I'm using this marking tool. But honestly, I love this thick chalk one, but I think it's too thick at this time to use it. But these are my two marking tools for my dark fabrics, and these are my two marking tools for my light fabrics. I've just noticed with these water solubles, I know that sometimes you have said to me that there is a problem with them coming back on you, like they resurface. Drench the fabric as much as you can and wet it several times. So spray your fabric, rub it off, and then let it dry. And then if you see it come back, re-wet your fabric and do it again. I've noticed that sometimes the water soluble part, or even this area, it seeps in deep inside the fiber, that sometimes when you spray it, you don't drench the fabric. With these, you really do have to drench the fabric, and I've noticed once you do that, you shouldn't have a problem. So once I started marking the quilt top, there was a hexagon design that I wanted to put on the center where the pinwheel was. And when I was marking it with my water-soluble pencil, the pinwheel, you know, all those seams made it really hard to do the design that I had on paper and to transfer it to the fabric. What I decided is I loved this area, and I love what I did here, and I'm still kind of questioning what I'm going to do here. I had a different design, and I love the fact that I just got my beautiful eraser and erased all of it and kind of was able to start over. Find what you love, because that's what I'm doing. I'm finding the shapes that I personally love that make this flow the way I want it to flow. And then what I like about it, it almost gives me, this becomes a map. And then I went back and I started marking the quilt with my tools, and then I laid the fabric out and I got to see the markings themselves on the fabric, which this is kind of the idea of what I want on the fabric. This is the reality of the paper, and then moving it into the fabric gives me a full view of this idea coming to pass. I also wanted to share with you that the way we all design is differently, and I did a Lisa Callie video a while back. I took some of her classes, and she had a different way of designing, and I've tried her way, and it just hasn't worked. I guess what I'm trying to say as I'm doing this, it's that we all do things differently, and then as you go along, you will find what works for you. I think this has been a journey for me in trying to find what will work for me, because like I said, I am very hard on myself about my expectations, but I really am enjoying this process because it gives me that creative freedom to make mistakes. The way I do things may not fit you, but I hope that the ideas and the things that I'm sharing with you may help you find something that does fit you. Okay? So thank you for watching. All right, bye.